£122,000. That's what Portsmouth City Council paid for over 1,600 acres of land that would eventually become Leigh Park. £122,000 for the entire estate. 40,000. That was the highest population of Leigh Park in the mid-1960s. The worst place to live in the United Kingdom. That's what Leigh Park was voted as in the late 1970s. There are at least 9 established churches in Leigh Park. 3 Anglican churches, 1 Roman Catholic church, 1 Baptist, 1 Methodist, 1 Pentecostal, 1 Calvary Chapel, and us, the Bethel Evangelical Church. 5 of those churches were started shortly after Leigh Park was established in the 1950s. Bethel was amongst those first churches. This year we celebrate the completion of 7 decades of ministry here in Leigh Park. In fact, if you look at the screen, that's going to be our logo, our motto for this coming year. We were started by a child evangelist, and I've mentioned his name often, Jim Kerr. Jim's motivation for working here in Leigh Park was the huge number of children that were on the estate. Within a couple of years, Bethel was formed, and we were meeting in a military hut. By 1968, the old building had been built. Then the church went through some hard times and nearly closed. The 1970s saw only a few families attending, and Eric White was the pastor. His legacy to the church is the library. The church finally did close its doors in 1980. And in 1983, Cowplain Evangelical and Eastney Evangelical decided that Bethel should be reopened. And so they sent along some families from each church to restart Bethel. And of course, Dave was amongst those that came along. The church grew to around 25 people and eventually called a part-time pastor in the mid-1990s. The church at that time was running a couple of children's programs, and they purchased the manse for the pastor to live in. That pastor stayed for about 3 years. And after that pastor left, the church steadily declined until there were only about 5 people left. And 14 years after that pastor left, 11 years ago, Bethel called me to become their pastor. And the rest is, as they say, history. Today, the church is bigger than it's ever been. We hold more outreach ministries than we ever have. We conduct more weekly ministries than we ever have. And we encounter a whole new set of complications that Bethel didn't have to contend with in the past. So as we enter our 8th decade of ministry, what can we learn? And how can we better prepare for the future? Let me give you 2 thoughts. Keep doing what you're doing and make some changes. This may seem to be contradictory, but it's the theme of the address from Jesus to the 7 churches in the beginning of Revelation. He pointed out some things that these churches were doing well, and he commended them for that. He told them that they should keep doing those things. But then he also pointed out some changes that they needed to make. And in fact, he said those changes are so important that if you don't make those changes, I will remove your lampstand, your effectiveness, your presence in this dark world. So we're going to look at some of these things, and we're going to see how some of these things might actually even apply to Bethel today. Every new year is filled with reflection and with resolve. Anybody staying up all night tonight? Anybody? No? Yeah? Zeke, Tony? Well, not all night, but into gonna see 2024 in, yeah? I haven't done that in years. Used to, and then, but it got to be such a struggle. Gets to be 8:30. I'm putting on my pajamas. By 9 o'clock, I'm heading for bed. So, well, good on you, though. If you're going to stay up and see the new year in, we reflect a lot on the previous year, maybe our recent history in our life, and we think to ourselves, I think I could do better. I would like for 24 to be better than 23. That wasn't difficult to do in 2021, was it? Because it was never going to be as bad as 2020. That was when the pandemic hit. Hard to believe that was 4 years ago come March that we went into lockdown. And so we resolve, don't we? We resolve to be better. We put together resolutions. If you don't write them down, they don't last. If you don't commit to them, it's just a passing fancy. We resolve to be a better Christian, or a better person, a better spouse, better parent. Sometimes those resolutions are effective, but most of the time they're just short-lived. And it's because most of us, to be honest, are like water. We find a natural balance and we gravitate to it. How we normally are is how we like to be. And at the end of the year, we look back and think, it's not really a very good me, though, is it? I think I could be a better me. And we try for a while, and then just like water, we find our way back to what's just natural and normal. As a church, I think this is often true as well. We think we can be better, but the truth is, if we don't resolve and do something about it, we tend to gravitate back to where we are comfortable. Can you guys hear that squeaking chair? Me too. That better? Good. So I want us to consider 8 things today. 4 things that we need to be encouraged and to continue doing, and 4 things that maybe we could be doing better. 4 things that could be changed. And as we consider these things, let's be aware that this, Bethel, is God's house. In fact, that's what Bethel means, the house of God. Jesus is our builder, the Holy Spirit is our strength, and the Father's glory is our goal. That's what we exist for. Bethel is not about us. It's not about us as a group, and it's not about any one of us. It's all about Jesus, and it's all about the glory of God.